Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition's final installment of our Youth and Climate podcast series, Green Building Careers. My name is David Weaver, and I'll be moderating tonight's panel. You can check out our previous episodes on youth and climate justice and youth and indoor air quality on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or X. And for those of you joining us for the first time, the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition is a nonprofit that seeks to develop and implement equitable strategies to achieve zero emissions from the Midwest building sector by 2050. We do this in a variety of ways, including outreach events like this. So if you want to learn more about us or join our mission, head over to our website and attend one of our working groups or meetings. And our website is midwestdecarb.org. Now, for our feature presentation, we have a wonderful group of panelists joining us to talk about green building careers. But before I introduce everyone, just a quick reminder that at any point in this episode, if you have a question, please feel free to write a comment in any of the platforms that you're currently watching this, and we'll do our best to get to it promptly. First, we have Gloria Lowe, who is an interior construction designer with over 18 years of construction management experience and training throughout Detroit. She's the founder and executive director of We Want Green 2. Ms. Lowe's knowledge and skill sets the foundation of We Want Green 2 to assist veterans with intellectual disabilities and to help them transform their lives and communities, one soul, one house at a time, moving from energy poverty to energy democracy. Also joining us is Gary Ringer, who served his community as a Detroit firefighter for over 2 decades. That experience and exposure led to local and national recognition for his leadership in addressing environmental health disparities and environmental justice within neglected communities. As a culture of health leader with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, he collaborates with residents to advance health and equity. Gary recently was selected by the National Association of Community Health Workers as one of the 12 leaders from across the country to represent community health workers as national community health worker leaders. He is the CEO and president of Eco Environmental Solutions, an emerging leader in air quality monitoring, environmental remediation, healthy home assessments, and weatherization. Also joining us is Imani Musher. She received a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Environmental Studies from St. Olaf College. While completing her undergraduate degree, she was a co-founder of the Climate Justice Collective, an organization that drove a divestment campaign at the college and uplifted the movement to stop Line 3 among students. She was the vice president of student government and chair of the Student Senate, where she used her platform to shed light on climate justice issues and push the college to commit to more sustainable policies. Today, she's a climate equity advocate who applies her passion for political science and environmental studies to pursue climate justice in the built environment. She's motivated by connecting with stakeholders to develop plans, policies, and next steps that keep people at the center of the fight against climate change. Recently, Imani has collaborated with the city of Minneapolis to co-create the Minneapolis Climate Equity Plan, conducted past occupancy research on net zero affordable housing, and supported design teams achieve certification with various green building standards. And last but not least, we have Amy Cortez also joining us. She's been involved in sustainable and healthy building design and operation throughout her career. She's worked on programs that aim to make healthy, energy efficient products and practices commonplace. As program director at the New Building Institute, Amy works to eliminate energy waste and carbon emissions in buildings. She does this by researching technical best practices, investigating how markets function, and informing stakeholders and policymakers on strategic ways to improve building performance. Her work identifies common barriers and uncovers opportunities to overcome them so that the built environment equitably delivers on community benefits and climate solutions for everyone. So we've now heard each of our panelists' bios, but I'd like to turn it over to them to see if there's anything else that they'd like to add or to tell us something unique about themselves. So first, I'll pass it over to Gloria.
Well, thank you, David, and good evening. No, I think you did a pretty good job. Perhaps only to say that my enthusiasm and passion for the work that I do comes out of a personal experience and personal injury that has allowed me to build a relationship both with our veterans and formerly incarcerated individuals and the community at large. And all of that, the relationships that we have have gone to inform the work that we do here in Detroit on the East Side.
Thank you. I'll pass it over to Imani.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good evening. So I would add, I am from a small town in Minnesota of about 4,000 people. I looked it up. Okay, medium, I guess. That's probably medium. I know there are smaller towns in Minnesota, towns of like 300, so a little bigger than that. But nonetheless, I graduated with about 200 other people, and I could count on both hands the amount of people who looked like me, who weren't white. I'm also a first generation college student, and I was raised by a single mom. And all of those factors contribute heavily to what brought me to this work and what keeps me motivated and why I love climate justice so much.
Thank you so much. I'll pass it over now to Amy.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much to the Midwest BDC, David, and everybody there for inviting me here today. I guess one thing I wanted to share is I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I lived for a long time in Oregon. I'm back in Pittsburgh now, but I think one of the things that got me into careers in the environment is just looking around and seeing the influence of coal and gas in that community. And it was really impactful for me to, I like to ride my bicycle, and there are rides along streams, and they were just red. And I just never really understood why they were. And it was because of acid mine drainage. These old mines would get water in them, and the water would just sit and just fester until it would bubble up. And when it rained, it would overflow and really impact these streams. And I think that really influenced what I wanted to do in my career. And so I really started my career in stormwater management, where I did watershed education and talked to people about the values of wetlands or whatnot. And it was kind of a good start for my role now in clean buildings. So I think it was really that where I grew up, and that what had a big influence on me and what I wanted to do in my career. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Amy. I'll pass it over to Gary now.
Appreciate that. I'm going to echo pretty much what everybody said here. My lived experience and exposure is what has me here today. Just retired from the fire department, and before becoming a firefighter, used to build homes in the suburbs of Metro Detroit, which gave me a great opportunity to contrast vibrant and volatile. And throughout that time, just looking at the plethora of abandoned, blighted, and fire damaged property throughout Metro Detroit just really sparked an interest of mine in figuring out ways how we can maximize those opportunities. So a pleasure to be here, and look forward to sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. I'll share a little bit about me. The unique thing about me is I used to have a 2-foot-long blue mohawk, leather jacket and tight pants. I guess you could say I had a heightened sense of justice, and I was disappointed with what I saw, and I just wanted to burn it all down. Particularly environmentalism, I've always been called to it, I thought. But when my niece Gloria developed asthma after living in a community that had the second worst air pollution in all of Chicago, I felt really called to step up and try to make a change as well. So I'm glad that we're all here, and thank you all for being here tonight, and then sharing yourselves with us. The next question I'll ask is, what was your path to working in a green career? Is this something that you always wanted to do as a job, or did your career path kind of change along the way? This time I'll go reverse order. So Gary, will you start us off?
Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate that question. I'm a non-traditional professional. My path to this career came through seeing the opportunities within blight and abandonment, and also just from the standpoint of when we're looking at the scope of construction services in the state of Michigan, 86% of the construction workforce is white men. So within that, I've done anything and everything from electrical apprentice, heavy equipment operator apprentice. I'm currently lead and asbestos contractor certified, and also BPI. I mean, you name it, I pretty much OSHA 10, 30, and still trying to find my way within the work. But for folks that are trying to figure out what they want to do, I think there's tremendous opportunities within the green workforce sector.
Gary, that's fantastic. I'd like to actually hang on that point for just an extra moment here. I think most people, when they think about, working to save the planet, they don't think about construction. Can you talk a little bit about why, all your experience in construction, electricity, et cetera, is so crucial to climate change and equitable climate justice?
Absolutely. We got to do things differently. And within, you know, urban areas such as Detroit, we have a aging housing infrastructure. So within that being said, and we have a aging population of people, right? So within that, how can we figure out a way to where the folks that are aging and are in need of support, in order for them to reduce not only their cost burden, but their energy burden, but improve their quality of life, right? From a health aspect. So when we talk about decarbonization, one of the biggest benefits is remediating gas burning appliances within homes. And a lot of times people don't realize, that you already have everything is pretty much a cumulative effect. We've already seen what's going on with the wildfires and things of that nature. So within the construction workforce, whether it's weatherization, whether it's BPI coming in and making sure your house is buttoned up effectively, remediation of asbestos, lead, mold, indoor air quality monitoring. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We haven't even gotten to solar. We haven't gotten to insulation. I mean, I could go on and on. But within that being said, if you're looking to really provide some value to where you currently are, whether you're a out of work auto worker, whether you're a kid just getting out of school, whether you're somebody that's trying to figure out your next move, I think you definitely need to look at the possibility in the green workforce.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, that point really hits home for Chicago, and I'm sure pretty much everywhere in the Midwest. But in Chicago, 69% of carbon emissions for the entire city come from our buildings alone. So if we really want to get after climate change, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, it's got to be construction. It's got to be replacing those gas systems in our buildings, and then also, I'm sure Gloria is going to talk more about energy poverty to energy democracy. That takes people putting in these systems, and that's fantastic. Thank you. I'll pass now to Amy.
So I've had one of those kind of roundabout careers. Like I said, I started in watershed management, and I worked with students who did like tree plantings, and I organized events, and I developed a set of project management skills, where I was good at kind of like convening people and pulling them together and organizing events. And we did training programs. And all of those skills ended up translating into the energy efficiency world. And so I worked for many years in my career in energy efficiency programs, where we would establish financial incentives to offset the cost of maybe a higher cost of the more efficient equipment up front, even though it saves money over time. So we would establish financial incentives that would help offset those costs. And I think some of those skills that translated from one topic to the other. And when I worked in energy efficiency, I did a lot of training and education. And it was a really great opportunity for me to stand up in front of the room and welcome people, and then sit in the back and learn about what makes a really energy efficient, healthy building. Like, what are the characteristics of those buildings? And so it was kind of a unique opportunity for me to really learn a lot about the clean building sector and all the different job opportunities that are associated in it. And I think that I've been really lucky to pursue opportunities I'm really interested in. You know, I have, and I would encourage people to continue to have a growth mindset, because there are, and to be curious about why, and really follow those, that interest, because there are opportunities everywhere. And, you know, I have kind of a circuitous path to get where I'm at, and it's unique, but I think that there are opportunities for anybody, no matter what skills, whether they're good at math and science or writing and communications. All of those skills are needed in the clean energy economy. And they've also translate from one topic to the other is one thing I want to say. It's not, it really doesn't have to be too specific. These skills really translate across all different professions.
Thank you, Amy. So many wonderful things you just said. Just, you know, one of them I want to highlight is you know, especially for someone who's considering transferring careers from, you know, whatever they were doing before into a green career, or even for folks who are starting their career for the first time, you have skills. And whether it's something you did in school or you did in the community or a previous job, even if it's not, you know, you don't think it's the same, you know, you're going from one career field to another, those skills are still directly translatable. And you just need to work on how you sell that to the new employer. But you definitely can and should. And then you talked about a growth mindset. Can you just spend another moment, you know, maybe introducing that concept to someone who hasn't heard it before?
Yeah, I mean, I think of a growth mindset is always like that sense of curiosity, right? Always interested in learning more, and one of the reasons I really appreciate the Midwest BDC is that it brings together the lived experiences of a lot of different people, and I think that's an important part of a growth mindset, is to be open to new ideas and different perspectives, even if they're not the same as yours. And I just have had a really wonderful opportunity in my work with Midwest BDC on the working groups to continue that growth mindset. And that's just one example, I think, of the curiosity and openness to learn new things.
I love that. Yeah, none of us are fixed. We can all get smarter. We can all learn new skills, new trades. I love that. Thank you. Imani, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my path, I would like to think, is still in its early days. So for me, I think I've known for a long time that I was interested in the climate and the environment. I grew up playing outside. And as soon as I started to see those intersections with policy and social justice, there was no backing off after that. And that really happened to me after I left the town where I grew up and after I graduated high school and went to college. I think I wanted to be a biology major at first, but like Amy's saying, chemistry is not for all of us, and it was not for me. So, and I was more into the people side of it all anyways. So I landed on political science, environmental studies, and changed my mind a million times in between there. So I would really echo what my other panelists have said so far, that you need just be true to yourself in this path and know that there is no one correct way to do it. And by choosing a profession or a path or a career, or even just a job that speaks to your heart and your passions and your souls, is ultimately also contributing to helping our planet and our communities. Something that I have to remind myself all the time is saving the world starts with saving yourself. So do something you love every day, and you're going to be a more amazing advocate and person and member of your community and environmentalist than ever. And yeah, I would just also, and the last thing I'll say is we absolutely need our marine biologists and our engineers, but we also need artists, and we need musicians, and we need dancers, and we need chefs. We need makeup artists who care about the environment. We need everybody. So whatever that passion is, just take it as far as you can. And yeah, growth mindset. Yeah, that all sounds great.
I
Yes.
love that. I won't even try to add anything to it. Couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you. I'll pass it
Listen,
over to Gloria.
well, as a elder and leader in the community, I would think that where I am today is the result of many lived experiences. I'm the daughter of a builder uh, right here in Detroit, contractor builder. My stepfather was also contractor builder, so I've had a little love for the build industry a long, long time. Never thought I'd get to this point though, but that's kind of how life is. So I echo what all my fellow panelists have said about how they got here. The injury that I sustained in 1999 brought me closer to the work that I do today, because part of my rehab process was to find a passion, something I was interested in on the computer that I could watch pretty much on a regular basis. I'm a brain injury survivor, so it was important for my eye coordination and to keep my brain active. And what I ran into was Green for All and Van Jones, and it was love at first sight. I never missed a session. I got to the point that we were able to call him to see if we could get some special mentoring for me, which we did. And I read everything that I could get my hands on. If I wasn't reading, I was watching it. And it occurred to me just one day, as I progressed through and started to heal, what I wanted to do. I was blessed to be living. The ultimate question is, okay, so now what? And after talking to so many veterans and hearing their stories, I said there's got to be some way that I can put together what I've just learned and the experiences of the veterans. Today, I often think about it because my interaction with the veteran population today is also a legacy piece for me. Being raised with my grandmother. My grandmother was the first indigenous person of color in the city of Detroit, perhaps in the nation, to lead a veteran support group back during World War One and Two, and here I am. So once again, the accumulation of our live lived experiences, which sometimes determine the changes that we make in our own life. When I look at what I do today, working with veterans, working in community, working in the build industry, this I put all of this together, and I say today that that old phrase that I wish I had known this when I was younger, because I would have done this all my life. I love the work that I do. I love the people that I meet. I love the veterans that I work with who are so disciplined and steadfast in both in their recovery and what they want to return and give back to their communities. I love the ability to sit and talk with neighbors and with those and explain about energy, the impacts that we're having today with the cost of our utilities, and what we can do, what we can create that will help to alleviate some of these burdens that we're carrying with us right now. So this is the world for me, and I hope it'll be the world for some of the young folks that we'll be talking to, both to get through the energy burden issues and crises that we have, and to understand that energy is the key to tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's so powerful. As a veteran myself, as the husband of a veteran, it means the world that there's people out there, who go out there, find a need, and try to fill it. And I think that's so crucial for all of us and everyone listening in. There's 1,001 ways to get after this, and the easiest way is to find out what's missing and try to fill it yourself,
Yeah.
like Gloria's doing in Detroit. That's fantastic. So we'll move on to our next question, which is what skills should young people develop if they want to work for a healthier climate? And I think I'll recommend that all of us discuss this from a perspective of your own careers. And if you want to give some general advice, that's great as well. But we have people from so many different career fields within green buildings. I think it would be great if we talk a little bit more specifically about our own. So, Gloria, I'll pass it right back to you, and we'll go in the original order.
Well, I think for me, a lot of it stems from, of course, my past with my dad's, and then more importantly, after having some health concerns of my own, with the knowledge that I gained through Green for All and just all of the literature and the webinars that I have attended about the importance of the built environment. There are so many different aspects of housing, how we live inside of these spaces that are so important to our everyday health. You know, the air quality, the things we don't think about. Oftentimes we talk to folks and say, what do you think is the most dangerous impact going on inside of your home? You know, and invariably I hear from people that, well, I had to put my husband out because he smokes all the time, you know, and I didn't want the children to be exposed to that smoke. And it was really funny. And I said, well, what if I told you that actually the carpet that's on your floor is probably more dangerous to your children than your husband smoking, or the formaldehyde that exists up under there that has a 50,000 year lifespan about it. It's the things that people don't know, oftentimes the things that people take for granted. So both the obligation for me as a health person and the need I think that the community has to really understand the environment in which we live, both inside of our spaces and outside of our spaces, is tremendous. Thanks.
Thank you, Gloria. And it sounds like active listening is a really important skill for people who are doing the outreach like you're doing. So you can hear what people's concerns are and help understand where they're coming from.
Absolutely. How else would we be able to bring to the community the knowledge that we have, the skills that we have to help them to recreate these spaces that they live in without sharing the knowledge and sharing the knowledge from the acknowledgement of the skills that they too possess.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Pass it over to Imani. Same question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I also just want to reiterate what Gloria's point, that there are higher outdoor air quality standards than there are for indoor air quality, which I found that out like a year or two into my career, which is like a 3-year career. So I don't even know if I can call it that. But that was a really jarring discovery. But let's see. So I worked at an architecture firm for 2 years, not as an architect, as an advocate. I did policy and research and sustainable design consulting. And now I am a regional coordinator for the Clean Energy Resource Team, which is a partnership with the University of Minnesota and a couple of other really amazing organizations. So I just wanted to kind of preface my answer with, like, that's the world I'm coming from. So to me, the skills that I think young people should really focus on to develop a healthier climate and skills that I actively am working on learning and getting better at, facilitating, organizing in the sense of organizing people, and listening. I truly believe that the answers we need to solve the climate crisis already exist in our communities. And all we need to do is show up and listen and connect people with the people they need to be connected to. And to do that, we need facilitation skills. We need listening skills. We need to be able to resolve conflict and have hard conversations, honest conversations. Those are the conversations I want to be a part of and that I know make the change we need. And people who can do that, yeah, that's it.
Force multiplier. If you could be that network node who connects people, yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Amy, your thoughts?
I want to agree with the panelists that things that they've already said. The skills like organizing, facilitating. I think those are really, advocating and the communication skills to do that. Those are all crucial for green building. And I think when you look at it specifically from the building side, there's also the monitoring, right? Who's actually out there collecting the air quality monitoring samples? So there are technical skills in researching these buildings. I don't think when I was in school, I realized that there were building science researchers out there that were actually measuring indoor air quality or the energy performance of a building. I think there are opportunities to learn. There's something in buildings that we call benchmarking, which is like measuring how much energy buildings use. And we need people to do that, right? I mean, those are skills. Those are skills in collecting information and then analyzing it and translating it into common terms that you can report back. So I do a lot of work in K-12 schools. And I think there are wonderful opportunities for even high school students to get involved in understanding, auditing their buildings. What equipment is in these buildings? What do we know about the buildings? And then collecting the energy data. There are tools that people use to analyze that data and then maybe presenting back to the school board, because we have this saying that you can't improve, will never improve what you don't measure, right? You have to measure things first. So that's a whole different set of skills that may be applicable to some people. That have been really helpful for me. I started with water quality monitoring, like literally out in streams, collecting water quality samples and studying them and then reporting back to city council on how well the streams were doing in our communities. And that kind of, it raises awareness and gets attention. So I've worked with people in media relations, right? Because you have to tell the story. So we need people that are in communications to go out and help tell the story, to build support and really help get some of the policies that we think will improve the environment passed, whether it's at the state, local, or federal level. So I feel like those are really important skills, and sometimes seen almost like as soft skills, but they're really critical to help the movement to make sure that we have a clean environment for people and especially in the building sector, because like they were saying before, the indoor and outdoor air quality matter a lot and have huge impacts on health and the well-being of our communities. So lots of different opportunities, I think, that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I'm seeing this beautiful, symphony between everyone's responses. We need the science skills, and we need someone to communicate these. And perfect. One person do all things. Fantastic. I'll bow down. But to have someone who can go and collect information about that gas stove that's emitting pollutants that leads to kids being 42% more likely to develop asthma or other respiratory illnesses if a gas stove is in the home, right? That hard science, that data collection is so crucial. And then we need someone to go and communicate this. So we need to get facilitation going on so we can bring different people to find the solutions. And weaving together all of these different answers, it really, to me, hammers home the point that it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you're really good with science, you're really good with communications, or there's a role for you, and we need everyone in this fight. Awesome. Gary, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate all the answers thus far. I'm going to lead with cultural competency, just from the standpoint of everything that's been said. So we know what the issues are, right? And we spend 90% of our time indoors. And with that being said, as Amani stated earlier, Outdoor air quality standards, we already know what they are, but indoor quality standards are even high. They can harm you more than what's going on outside, and you spend more of your time inside. So from a culturally competent perspective, we have to look at history of what we've already. So 50 years ago, they knew gas stoves weren't the best for your health, but we've allowed this to kind of just be swept under the rug for years. And we have to look at the impacts that it has within low income communities, most particularly Black and brown folks. How can we look at the opportunities that are currently present within the Inflation Reduction Act, within Justice 40, within the large population of folks that aren't reflective of these communities, but there's a need for these services to be brought into the community. So when we think of what they have, community coaches, we don't need folks from the outside coming in and talking about these benefits. We have people that are already on the front lines. We have people that are already in these communities that have historically been doing this work. And I think from a culturally competent perspective, what they say, the rising tide lifts all boats. We can all do this collectively together to where we're all going to benefit. We're all going to win. We have so many gaps to where within these gaps are nothing but opportunities. How can we competently and culturally be addressing these issues while also making sure that collectively and equitably all individuals that are at the table and that aren't at the table have a fair chance to provide some type of input in what we want our clean energy transition to be.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you, Gary. Uh, that the one thing I was going to add kind of, you know, piggybacks a little bit on exactly what you did. I was going to say empathy. So I've worked in the policy space, in the utility company, space. So I was working for a nonprofit that was trying to regulate and support decarbonization in buildings in Illinois. And so I'd sit at meetings with the gas utility companies, who I want to no longer be doing their primary, business. So how do you work with someone when you don't think that, how they make a living, how they feed their kids is viable if we're going to, mitigate climate change, if we're going to create healthy, equitable communities? And it's easy to hate. It's really easy to hate when you recognize that these gas industries knew about this in the 1950s and haven't done anything about it, right? It's easy to hate. I didn't say it was effective. I said it was easy.
Mhm.
Um, and you can use hate if that motivates you, but I think ultimately it's not going to help you get as much done. Because guess what? There's millions of people in the gas industry, and they all deserve to be able to feed their kids and to pay rent. They all deserve that. And so we need a just transition for those workers as well as for everyone who's suffering from the consequences of those jobs. And you can't do that without empathy. I can't sit across the table with with a woman who relies upon the gas industry to feed her kids and tell her I think she should lose her job, right? That we're never going to work together. We're going to fight each other, and maybe ultimately I'll win, but it'll take a lot longer than if I can get us on the same page, even in small steps to mitigate some of the damage now, to reduce the damage now. You know, gas workers could be doing geothermal work, which is a fantastic energy efficient way to heat and cool our homes. And if we bring those solutions from the understanding that, hey, their job skills are directly translatable to a job skill that is good for the planet, and you do deserve the right to feed your kids and to have a living wage, right? I think we can get more done, but it requires empathy and it requires understanding and it requires us to have those cultural competencies to be able to see from the other person's perspective to find a solution together. So Gary, thank you. That was powerful and I really appreciate it. I will note we have our first question from the comments, and I'll reiterate. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to post a comment. We're moderating them, and we will get to your questions. So the first one is coming from Marnice. How do we encourage our youth to go towards clean energy careers versus working in a utility company? Does working for the opposition matter? I'll open this up for a volunteer or two if anyone specifically feels like they're ready to answer that question.
I'm just going to chime in real quick. Over the next 10 years, they're slated, if we keep going and towards this clean energy transition, we're going to need 32 million jobs, 15 for that are transitioning out, and an additional 17 million just to shore up the needs of this wide industry. Once again, like I said, when you look at solar, when you look at remediation, when you look at monitoring, there are so many opportunities within a clean energy transition to where I would, wholly support anybody just doing a little, seeing the benefits of what it can mean, not only from you from a financial, economic benefit to where you're being paid a life-sustaining wage, not just a livable wage, but a life-sustaining wage. But then you're also giving back to your community, and you're also, I mean, we can think back to the railroads, we can think back to, coal, we could go on and on. At some point in time, it's time for us to create that shift. And I just want to give a big shout out to AmeriCorps and their new Climate Corps program, which has already signed up 35,000 youth ranging from 18 to 35. And that is a program that's looking to help to create this new clean energy transition.
Great, thank you. I'll address the utility one because that was kind of the industry I was working in. From an outside trying to regulate them. I think it's great for people who are interested and passionate about climate change and clean energy to work at a utility company. We need voices within those communities advocating for change. Oftentimes I would sit next to energy efficiency professionals who are working for the big electric utility company in Northern Illinois, and we'd be on the same page and working and advocating for the same thing. But guess what? Her voice is more powerful inside that utility company than mine was on the outside, shouting in. So we absolutely need those. I would just, I'd caution. We need that in the gas industry as well. But it's easy to forget sometimes yourself when you're in a new community. Sometimes you start to blend in, you want to fit in. And so you can't lose sight of the reasons why you join those organizations, was to change those organizations. When you're trying to get a project done and your boss is after you, it's easy to go for the easy button and do what they've always done. And if you're working with inside those organizations, you can't accept the status quo. You got to work hard for the change, and that can be very difficult. But for the right person, that could be way more powerful than an advocate on the outside. So I think it's absolutely important. Does anyone else have any thoughts on these questions?
Yeah, I'd like to chime in to Marnice's question about our youth. What we're starting to anticipate here at We Want Green too is an engagement with our young people in middle school and high school. I think education is the key. Many of the young people in our community see the burden of the utility companies and the negative use of energy as it translates to the pain of the family not being able to pay their bills. And they need to understand what that's all about. And I think the more that we engage with our youth and explain and expose them to how energy really works, and then how it works through our utility companies and what those companies are all about, I think that the young people today are mature enough to understand and start to deal with ideas such as consumption. We talk a lot about greed and everything, but what is that greed based on other than this need of consumption? We have to have so much of everything. And so I think that when, as adults and those of us who've been in the industry long enough, start to reach out to our youth and start to teach and educate, share a little history, some of the things that schools don't do today, get them engaged in projects local projects where they can start to learn, touch, feel, see things for themselves, then they will eventually gain their own understanding of what energy is all about. Then add that to the creativity that they seem to be born with, and we have a generation of young people, of new thinkers, of new doers, who will understand and be able to balance some of the things that our generation has kind of lost control of. It's just going to take time. I think they will choose not to engage in utility companies or trying to work for Marathon Oil because it pays more, but to look at alternatives, alternative types of work, green work that will enhance their lives, their quality of life, and the quality of life.
I would agree. And just a huge shout out. I'm so grateful to be sharing this virtual space with my co-panelists and moderator. You guys are absolutely brilliant. And everything you're saying, I couldn't agree more. I agree with everything Gloria is saying about education. If you haven't talked to high schoolers, go talk to them, because I learn something new every time. I think that was the first time that a high schooler looked me in the eye and she was like, Imani, complex problems require complex solutions. And I was like, whoa, okay, you got me, like, sorry. So yeah, just get them to the table. They want to engage and ready to engage and are ready to hear the truth and understand the reality of what's going on. And I also agree with David. We're going to ask people to do things differently than it's always been done. And I get that that's hard, but sorry, that's just how this is going to have to work. And I'm a big fan of power mapping, and finding somebody who cares and who's on our side on the inside is a lot more powerful than all of us screaming at the top of our lungs from the outside. Yeah. So identifying those leverage points is so important. And yeah, lastly, just reiterating what Gary said, that we need those jobs are out there. It's just about creating those pathways that are new and maybe a little bit different, but they're there and ready for us to take advantage of them.
Well said.
Awesome.
I think all that's great. I would just, the only thing I would add is that I really want to encourage people to think broadly about what a clean energy career is. Because I think it's really easy to think, oh, it's like somebody who puts solar panels on, but it's, it's plumbers, it's insulation installers, it's a whole bunch of, it's the artist who makes the data look pretty so you can present to city council. It's all these things. So I think really when we think about, how do we encourage youth to go towards it, I think it's really helping them explain that it's varied, and whatever they're interested in, I think there's an avenue to kind of integrate clean energy and clean buildings into that. So thank you.
So, when I talk to kids, when I talk to peers and other youth who are, interested in working in environmentalism, a lot of times I hear concerns about how to pay for the training or pay back student loans, or even after that, how to earn enough to make a living. Do you guys have any advice for someone with some of these concerns?
I can start. I would validate those concerns. The price of education is mind-blowing. And the fact that we're all expected to start our careers with so much debt is really not okay. So yeah, I hear you, and that is crazy. But also know that you're worth every dollar of it, and that you should go for every degree and every certificate and every training that's within your reach. I think there's so much value in our technical colleges, in our community colleges, in our bachelor's degrees. Get whatever you can, and then fight for every dollar at the job. Negotiate at least 20% higher than what they want to offer you. And yeah, look for mentors. And yeah, just remember that, gosh, I don't know, it's hard. Debt is real, but get that certificate and get paid for what you're worth and what you know.
Awesome. And For those who do pursue every certificate and every degree, which I would echo. You absolutely should do it. You're worth it. And any dollar you spend towards education and self improvement is going to be worth it in the long term. There's also really really fantastic public service loan forgiveness, and we'll drop that link in the chat. But if you're really passionate about this, um, the federal government will forgive your loans if you work in public service, which is either nonprofit or government, and the rest of your loans after your initial period is up will be forgiven. So you can pursue this and do it affordably and not be crippled by debt for the rest of your life.
I'd like to add that what we're experiencing right now is a little change in the tide. So we normally deal with a lot of males that come in for our education and training, but that tide is changing. And I think it's changing because women are starting to throw off the fear of entering into the trades and getting engaged in this hands-on work, even though it may not be their passion, but they see it as a means to an end. They know that it's well paid right now. They know that there's a need for folks in the trade industry. So I'm hearing that I'm going to do this electrical thing. A lot of young women, in the past week, I've had 3 phone calls from young women who are in electrical training programs, not because it's their passion, but it's because it's a trade that they can handle. And they are using it as a bridge to start the journey of thriving instead of surviving, and then having a little something solid to hold on to as they continue to move forward and then enter into areas of their passion, but understanding the need to have something foundational to stand on. And I think for my community in particular, that the whole financial responsibility piece that has been missing with us over the time is starting to change. And that, for one, is a very good thought, if in fact this is happening going forward, because you have to understand the blessing of money. You have to understand and be able to keep that balanced in your life. Otherwise, we get back into the cycle we're in now with this overconsumption, with this greed. And I really don't feel that our young people are trying to go in that direction. They may not be absolutely clear what direction they're going into, but to think that money is God and this is all life is about, I don't think they're trying to buy that one right now. So they're looking at ways and means. And of course, coming from a trade family, this is something that we're trying to promote as well. Don't forget about the trades.
Yeah, if I could chime in, uh, I'm 48 years old, and over the course of my lifetime, I've been working since I was 14. I volunteered. Like I say, I'm a retired firefighter, so public safety. Currently still an EMT, community health worker, certified peer support specialist. I mean, the reality of it is, we are a diverse. We have multi, sectional interests, likes, and lives. So within the course of your life, everything go this path towards this one degree that you might or be for. You have to be open to change, be accepting of change, be accepting of being a lifelong learner, not just getting into a field and staying in that field, but the ebbs and flows of life. Allow those to expand your horizon, to look at bigger and better, to think about what can I take in to give back, or what can I give back to take in? You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to always be in a position to where you're doing what you want to do, period. But that's a stepping stone. That's an opportunity. And look around you, look at your life, look at the gaps within some of the things that you might see within the services that you know that you need within your life, within your household. And those are some of the things that I would say. And I've always told myself, and anybody that knows me, my outside doesn't match my inside. Until it does, I'm gonna keep grinding, period. So have that mentality, that growth mindset, to where you're always looking to take something in that can benefit you, that you can take another skill. Appreciate those around you. Look at how one guy does something, look how one woman does something. Take a piece of what they're doing and utilize it within your piece. Create your own opportunities within the opportunities that are currently in front of you, and look for others outside of where you currently are. Expand your horizon. Look outside of your current circle of influence. Do anything and everything that can challenge you at this key point in time right now to be better than what you currently are.
Awesome. Awesome. We have 3 minutes left. So if anyone else would like to just share final thoughts before we wrap up, this would be a perfect time.
Well, I'll just throw out there that there are internships and fellowships that I think can be helpful. I'm starting to see workforce education dovetail a lot more with clean energy economy and clean buildings. So as a follow up, I'll send some links, and we can make sure that we get these things posted so people know about the Ray Diversity Fellowship. There are opportunities that are connecting young people with paid internships or paid fellowships as a way to get started in the community and meet people and develop some experience. So I just encourage people to be persistent and opt. And there are a lot of opportunities out there.
And a number of those are free.
Right.
Find a mentor, y'all. Whatever job or profession or area you want, if you find a mentor who you like, latch on and never let go. Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you the amount of incredible, smart, professional women who have gotten me to where I'm at today. I would not be here without the incredible people I've met along this way. So when you find someone who's doing the work that you like, hang on to them.
Be resilient. Hang in there. Make it happen.
Well, thank you so much for all of our panelists. Wonderful, wonderful panelists for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy lives, both professional and personal lives, to come and join us tonight to talk. I just wanted to add one last thing was, for your mentor, cold call, cold email. I can't tell you how many mentors I've gained by being brave enough to find someone that I respected and emailing them out of the blue or giving them a call. And people want to support everyone else, follow their footsteps. It's a human thing. So be brave, reach out. Last thing I'll say is, if this was a great program and you appreciated it, and you want to enter this conversation more regularly, you want to participate, you want to find a local group or support this regional group, please check out our website, MWBDC.org. Join our working groups. Just find our email distro so you can learn about more events, or find our member organization so you can contribute to this. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
And thank you.